Chris Wallace is with us from that Fox News Sunday. What do you make of this, especially this Carson business?
Well, look, there are two parts to the Carson story. One is his personal story when he was 14 years old, and the question as to whether he tried to stab a friend or not. We're never going to know the truth of that, and so to a certain degree, that's going to be a wash. For a potential commander-in-chief, I think much more troubling, much more damaging, and also much more provable, true or false, is the story that he was offered a full scholarship to West Point. This comes out of a book that he wrote, an autobiography called Gifted Hands, in which he tells a very detailed story about Memorial Day 1969. He is the head of the ROTC program in Detroit. He says that he had dinner with General William Westmoreland, who had recently stepped down as the commander of all U.S. forces at West Point. He makes it sound like it was a dinner with him, Westmoreland, and some Congressional Medal of Honor winners, and then he was offered a scholarship to West Point. Westmoreland wasn't even in Detroit that day. He was playing tennis in Washington. There was another event in February of that year, but it was a 1,500-person banquet. There's no record that Carson ever met with Westmoreland. If he did, it seems like it would have been one of 1,000 people to meet Westmoreland. And as has been pointed out, West Point has no record not only of him ever getting a scholarship, and everybody who goes to West Point gets a scholarship. It's a full ride from the government, but that he ever even applied for one. And that's pretty serious, the idea that you would claim that you got accepted and by West Point and that you never actually even applied to go there.
West Point has never given a full ride scholarship. None of the military academies has ever given a full ride scholarship. You pay for your schooling with service, typically 5 years of service in whatever branch of the military, the academy to which you go. That's how this works. In fact, someone told me today who went to one of those academies was like, I'm always embarrassed for people when they say they got a full scholarship to fill in the blank academy, because it means they don't have any idea what they're talking about. That's from somebody who went to one of these schools. I just wonder if this sort of thing is going to resonate. I mean, his line is, blame the media. They're here to distract. The media are terrible. That's what they always say when they don't have substance. They attack the messenger. It's not a new trick.
Well, and here's why it is potentially particularly damaging to Ben Carson, because basically what he's got and what he's running for president on is his story, his life. And it's an extraordinary life because, say what you will, he grew up in abject poverty. His mom was illiterate. He ended up going to the best colleges and becoming a world-famous neurosurgeon, pediatric neurosurgeon. All of that is true, but he never served in any government role. He doesn't have a public record to run on, and so he's running on his life story. If a major part of that life story, the idea that he was, offered, forget what you want to call it, but, that he basically was admitted to West Point, and in fact he never even applied to West Point, that raises questions about his personal credibility.
Bigger picture. All of this shooting inside the tent that the Republicans are doing, it's not new today, but they just keep firing at each other over and over. Ronald Reagan must be rolling over somewhere.
Well, and remember, I mean, you've got a situation where you've got Hillary Clinton, who's got all kinds of credibility problems. She's tremendously underwater in terms of her honesty, trustworthy ratings. You've got a lot of problems with Barack Obama, particularly his policy, his foreign policy, and what's going on in Syria and Iraq and all of that. And as you say, I mean, here you are. We've been talking, for 8 or 9 minutes at the top of the show, and it's all about Republicans firing at other Republicans. And this has been going on for months. So, instead of going after who should be the enemy or the opponent, they're going after each other. Yeah, we ought to be talking about your rebels anyway. That's what we ought to be talking about. 7-2, control their own destiny in the SEC West. That's it. That's it. Just keep winning. You keep winning. It's yours. The mighty prize. Atlanta is yours if you keep winning. What are they? They've lost to what? They lost
to 7-2,
Memphis,
Chris.
And they lost to who else?
Alabama. No, they beat Alabama, remember?
No, they lost.
They lost down in
Florida.
Gainesville. They were beat up.
Yeah, they lost to Florida.
Yeah, it's not over.
All right.
Still control their own destiny, Chris.
It's pretty close to over.
No, they control their own destiny, Chris. They beat Arkansas, favored by 10.5 tomorrow. Then LSU got to come to town, probably number one, because they will have just beaten Alabama. Then you got to beat them. Then you got to go down to Starkville and beat them. Then you got to go to Atlanta, win that. And you got the whole dang thing. The whole thing, Chris, a little boring to a hater, isn't it?
Well, I'm not a hater.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of delusionary. I mean, you can't beat Memphis, and now you're talking about. I mean, what is the end game here? That you're going to get into the college playoffs?
The end game is Atlanta. Never been there. Never been there. Not for the SEC championship game. Never been. We're lowly us. We're just us, Chris.
Well,
we're just squirrels trying to get in up, Chris.
Yet.
Huh?
I'm not sure I'd book a room.
You're a hater.
No, but I just enjoy tweaking you every Friday.
Is that what this is? Because I have the power over who comes here and who doesn't, Chris. Don't forget that. You be nice. You be nice. We're nice down in Oxford. We're nice. Always win the party.
Well, some of you are, and I enjoy most of the people from Oxford.
Chris is not having a program this weekend. Sunday he's taking off. So don't bother.
And I'm not talking to Chris Christie, and I'm not talking to Mike McCall about the situation with the Russian jet. I'm not doing any of those things on Sunday.
Chris Christie, did he make the debate?
Well, yeah, he made the debate.
Okay, good. Chris Christie will talk with
the early debate.
With Chris in the early debate.